The Purdue-Fort Wayne men's volleyball team opened its 2019 season with two three-set sweeps of NJIT and Princeton here at home on Arnie Ball Court. We'll talk about those two matches as well as previewing our entire season. Then we'll finish up by talking about our two matches down in North Carolina against Lise McRae and Queen's University of Charlotte. All that and more with Coach Ryan Rock-Parat on Volleydons Weekly. Welcome everybody to Volleydons Weekly. I am your host and assistant coach J.W. Kiekefer. With me we have head coach Ryan Rock-Parat, and welcome to the first show of 2019. Wow, the year has gone by fast, I feel like. Rock, what do you think?
The year has gone by fast. We're only 8 days into the new year.
I mean the fall. I mean the period of time where we're not playing volleyball matches has gone by very, very quickly, I feel like.
That sounds like you're getting old.
That's exactly what that sounds like, doesn't it?
Huh?
Now that I'm a seasoned veteran of this coaching thing now after 4 years.
That is true. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all our loyal and avid watchers of this broadcast. And as they notice, we have a brand new studio this year.
Just for 2019. You know, new university name, new set. It looks phenomenal.
And next year, our new set's going to be even more incredible because every show that we're going to do is going to be in the tropics.
We're just going to move the university? Is that what we're going to do? Or we're going to fly out for one day?
Well, I'll be there remotely, so you can just interview me there remotely.
So I'm going to have the one camera on me, and we're going to have the other camera on you.
Yeah, satellite shot. Cameron could hook us up.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the tickets to Grenada, but he'll be able to hook you up with the satellite shot.
Direct flight, but it's beautiful, huh? How about this beautiful
new
still?
set. We're excited about it.
Yep.
We're excited to be more casual and to just talk to you guys about our volleyball matches this year and our team. So with that, let's open up the discussions about our first weekend of play. It's already gone by. We played here at home on Arnie Ball Court against NJIT and Princeton. What do you just look at me here. NJIT, we thought we played pretty well, right? I think it was a pretty solid match from us to open the season, a three-set sweep. Tough second set in the middle of two pretty easy sets for us, but just talk about that match and who played well, who didn't.
Well, it's been very interesting this year because of the fact that we have everybody back from a year ago except for one player. And so the advancement of our training in the fall, I think, has propelled us into another stratosphere with comfortability and execution on the volleyball court. And it showed that very first match against NJIT because one of the things that we harped on a ton of was serving and passing. And I thought our serving, even though we missed 19 serves, we had 6 aces. Our serving was really good because it was aggressive, and even the misses were good misses. And
we missed 19 serves in that match, but as we said after that match, we were really impressed with the aggressiveness from the baseline that we haven't had in years past. And we were okay with 19 missed serves because I think we out-aced them by 7. 9 aces to 2 aces, I believe, in that match.
I mean, totally. And in today's men's game, you have to be able to serve the ball with authority in order to get your opponent out of system in order for you to do things. So, I mean, I thought our serving was really, really good. I thought our first contact, especially in serve-receive, was extraordinary. And so we were able to, I believe the first set we had over 500. Yeah. The second set we were almost at 400. We finished hitting 330 for the match, which is really good. So I was really impressed with our offensive prowess. I really liked what we tried to do from an offensive standpoint. The only chink in the armor, if you will, was the fact that our transition game wasn't very good. Starting with the first contact, a little discombobulation with who should handle what and where we should go in terms of patterns, that kind of thing. But that will get better over time. I really liked our defensive energy and what we tried to do in the backcourt. And it was a really nice win from start to finish. Yeah, there was that little kind of lull in that second set. Then it got really tight. We pulled it out 26-24, but it was good to be challenged against a really good NJIT team.
The NJIT team has a couple of pieces maybe last year that they didn't have with that middle from Spain. Also, they have an outside from Denmark. So it's a little different team than we had seen last year, and they played us really tight last year at their place. So we're really excited to get out of there with a win. That's a really good volleyball team we beat. And then we transitioned on Saturday to play the team that was picked to win the EIVA in Princeton, and they have a 7-footer who ended up playing the opposite position. They ended up playing 3 guys through those left side spots, but all of them touch 11-6, 11-8 on their approach touches. So a really, really athletic team we had to go up against Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton was super tough for a lot of reasons. Number one, they were already seasoned because it was their 4th match of the season already. They had played out at Pepperdine, they'd played out at UCLA, then the night before they played at Ball State. Unfortunately, they had lost all of them, or at least fortunately for us. Number two was the fact that they were picked preseason number 1 in the IVA, which is a tough conference. I mean, Harvard ended up winning it last year. George Mason finished first.
Princeton was in the final of
Princeton
the
was
tournament.
in the final. Penn State is perennial favorites every year. So that conference is a tough conference, and for them to be preseason number 1 speaks volumes about where and how far that program has come in the last few years. And then for us to play as well as we did against a monstrous team. I mean, they're big. And every team that we play are going to be big. I mean, we're undersized when it comes to the volleyball side of things. But again, our offense, phenomenal. I thought our serving was actually better. 8 aces to only 10 errors.
We didn't miss as many serves.
Yeah, we didn't miss as many serves.
Was just as good, but we didn't miss as many, which was nice.
Yeah, we got him out of system more times than not in order to do things defensively. I thought our first contact or the serve receive part of our game wasn't as crisp as it was the night before, but credit that to Princeton. I thought they jump float served the ball much more effectively, and that caused us to have some concerns and some difficulties. But overall, it was a really, really good team effort on Saturday night, and again, another grind against a really good volleyball team.
Talk about how we maybe adjusted to the size of Princeton and George Human, the 7-footer on the right pin, and that 6'6" outside who was touching like 11-8, it looked like.
Well, it helped because we served the ball so effectively that we were able to get 2 blockers in front of those guys, and that's number 1. You got to be able to get 2 blockers in front of those guys. Number 2, we did some things in the backcourt to kind of frustrate them a little bit by putting some people in an overload situation, 2 people in one zone, or we rolled underneath the block, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, the scheming was great for that particular match. Obviously, we're about to go up against the big-time 7-footer when we see these California teams, especially at Stanford. It comes as it goes, but if you're able to serve the ball, you can eliminate a lot of the offensive opportunities that these teams present themselves with, and we were able to do that against Princeton.
Yeah, I think some pretty outstanding personal performances from across the board from a lot of different players. Really quick, we only got like a minute. Who stood out for you the most?
Well, as we shoot this, our very first episode, it just came out, released about an hour and a half ago, that Colby Knorr was the defensive player, the MIVA Conference Defensive Player of the Week, and Michael Keegan was co-offensive player of the week, our setter and our libero. And those 2 guys played very, very well. The other individual that really stood out is Pelican Vargas, our All-American outsider, junior from Puerto Rico. He was absolutely dynamite on both nights with his serving, with his offensive game. He was tremendous. And actually underrated was his defensive game. He made some unbelievable defensive plays in the backcourt, and that's what you want to see from your All-American from the get-go.
We'll make sure to talk about all that and more, especially our 2 Player of the Week performances after we come back to the break. So come on back.
We are this close.
We're this close.
We are this close.
Of wanting
To making history.
This close to changing the world.
We are this close.
This close.
This close to making sure no child suffers a crippling disease.
Ever again. This close.
We are this close to ending polio.
Ending polio. All we need is you.
this close.
If we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
In America, up to 1.6 million youth are homeless each year. Up to 40% of them identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender.
Most of them have been thrown out of their homes or run away out of fear and rejection.
It's time for things to change.
America's next generation needs us to stand with them so they can stand on their own.
Get informed, get involved. Visit 40tonone.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to Volleydons Weekly. We still have head coach Ryan Rockparat. He wanted to really just impress everybody with his knowledge of the game, so we got him back here in the hot seat for the first week here, and we will talk about our 2 Players of the Week this week, as you teased in the last segment. Michael Keegan, one of the offensive players of the week. He was a co-offensive player of the week with Jake Haynes from Ohio State. And then the defensive player of the week, Colby Knorr, our libero. Both seniors for us and both guys who've had a lot of experience. Colby has played 4 years of MIVA volleyball. He played his first 2 at Quincy and he's now started his last 2 here with us. And then Michael Keegan has been a 4-year starting setter for us and has seen some rapid development, over his 4 years, and it's been fun to watch him grow as a person and a player. But talk a little bit about their performances this week, Rock.
Well, Michael Keegan has come a long way as a senior because, he had to come into this brand new offense, brand new philosophy from me, and he had some struggles early. But after last year, he just gained so much confidence because of all the hard work he put in and the success we had. And now he's trying to learn from his past experiences as long as developing his leadership skills. I thought he played very, very well offensively. He gave us the offensive looks that needed to happen. And of course, he always gets pumped up to play Princeton because his younger brother is on the Princeton roster. Last year when we played there, he was a man possessed. This year was the exact same way. He willed our team to win. And I thought his offensive game was pretty good. There are some technical things he still has to work on, but overall I really liked his energy and what he brought to the table in regards to really good setting choices.
His confidence over the last 4 years has been, it's impressive to watch it grow. It's impressive to watch him use it. It's impressive to watch him grow into a leader of this volleyball team. Maybe something that he didn't know how to do or didn't know exactly what he needed to do, maybe his freshman and sophomore year, but his junior and to imagine into his senior year, I think he's been a fantastic leader for our team.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go still. My biggest challenge to him when I meet with him this week is he going to be one of the top 2 or 3 setters in our conference? Because he's not there yet. And he's got a long way to go to get there, but I think his work ethic can propel him in a short period of time. And I think he's willing to be that kind of player for us. Colby Knorr is an interesting story because he's a transfer from one of our in-conference rivals, Quincy University. And here's a guy who, when he played us 2 years ago, was unreal in both matches. And then he comes to us, and he is the instigator of positivity. He is Mr. Vibe. If I can give him Colby Knorr as a
Mr. Positive Vibe.
He is Mr. Vibe. He is unbelievable.
Mr. Vibe. We'll start calling him that.
And he's so enthusiastic, and it's just so contagious, his personality to our guys. He played very well. First of all, his passing is solid. Of all the skills that he brings to the table, his passing is solid. Number 2 is, I thought the very first night defensively he was really good. I thought the second night he tried to press too much defensively and tried to do too many things, kind of lacked a little bit of discipline. But as the match went along, he kind of corrected that and was able to become more effective for us on the defensive side. But Colby is such a great addition to our team, brings the leadership, but he brings the skills that we need at that particular position.
And I think one thing about the libero position in particular is you look for 2 assets out of that position, or at least me being a former libero, I tried to pride myself on these 2 things, and I think the best players do it. I think, one, they bring energy to the team. They help the team get going with their defensive play, but also the way they communicate, with the way they lead. They're the positive energy kind of guy, and they're always there to help their team try to work out of a funk. And in relation to that is they're super, super steady. In terms of the way they play. They're always there to pass volleyballs at a super high level. They're always there to dig volleyballs at a super high level. You can count on that player to be there for you all the time. Whereas some other positions, they have the opportunities to make some errors and kind of work themselves into a match. The libero position, you don't only get to touch 20 balls a match. You can't afford an error or 2. So his passing over the last 2 years has been super, super steady as one of the best in the conference. And that's what I think sets him apart from a lot of liberos that we've had here, but also nationally, and especially in the MIVA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, and I think Colby, what you just talked to, I think fits that mold perfectly. I mean, I didn't play with a libero. I still think it's an overrated position. But as time goes along, I will tell you this, I think it's becoming more and more important, that position. And it might be arguably become the most important position because I've never looked at the libero as a defensive specialist. I've never done that. You and I know this because it's an offensive position. And now, not only is it the digging, the covering, the passing, but now you're able to set the ball out of system. You're allowed to do other things. Obviously, in the women's game, you're allowed to serve. So, I think that position is a position that can help you win matches, and that's where the game is going on the men's side.
Talked a little bit about, besides our 2 award winners from the week in Colby and Michael. You talked a little bit about how Pellegrin Vargas, our All-American from last season, just continues to impress. People know he's getting the ball. We set him a lot, and he finds ways to score. And just talk about how well he played this week, and 2 matches of hitting over 300 is pretty impressive from a guy who's going to take about 20 to 25% of our swings.
Well, he's an offensive juggernaut. I mean, he's so talented. He grew up playing volleyball. His father is a legend on the island of Puerto Rico for playing volleyball back in the late 80s, early 90s. And Pellegrin has such high volleyball IQ. So it's not a surprise to me that he played so well. I think what a surprise is for a lot of people is how dynamic he's become with his serving in particular, and how quick a whip his arm is offensively, because our tempo is so fast to the pin that he gets on the ball so quickly. He's got to get better at the defensive side of things, and he's got to become more steady at passing the ball. If he can do those things, he becomes so well-rounded. And by the way, he's only a junior, which is so scary because he was an All-American as a sophomore. It'll help him gain the confidence to be the leader that we need him to be. Because he's a quiet leader right now. He's one of those leaders that performs for the leadership part as opposed to the rah-rah guy. Not that you need the rah-rah guy.
He's not the communicative leader. He's the heart leader, the heart and soul of our team in terms of how he leads, and he just walks the walk. You know, he's not a guy who's going to talk. He's just going to walk the walk and do the things you need him to do.
Yeah, 100% right. And he delivers. And you always need your stars and your superstars to deliver on big-time matches. That helps elevate everybody else's play around them.
And another, I think, unsung hero from the weekend. We're talking about everybody now, but I do think our middles were very, very good offensively this week. Yeah. And I think if we can continue to have the distribution that Mokegan was able to have in that setting spot, being able to distribute the ball to all of our attackers, but more importantly, how efficient both Tomas and Richie were. We're unstoppable because everybody both teams were committing against our middle blockers. It made Pellegrin and Colton and Tony's life really easy on the pins.
Yeah, if we're able to pass the volleyball, both Tomas and Richie are going to have career years.
They're just really, really good right now.
Tomas has the international experience, obviously coming from Chile, being a part of the Chilean national team. He's so quick off the floor. He's got unbelievable vision that he can turn the ball left or right.
He's an athlete. He's a freak athlete.
Yeah,
he really is.
He's a really good volleyball player. I mean, he's got to get better on the defensive end. His block's got to get tremendously better, and so too his serve and backcourt defense. Richie, a former football guy, as we talk about this the day after the great national championship match played last night between Clemson and Alabama, Richie's arm is so good, but he's got to become a little bit more technical in regards to that availability of his arm in terms of approach and a bunch of other things. I'm sure you'll have him on the show later this year to talk about that. But Richie is such a great kid in terms of leadership. His work ethic is tremendous. He's always, always positive, and he's always trying to make a play. You need that kind of balance in the middle position. I believe the strength of our volleyball team is not on the pins, even though everybody would tell me differently. I think it's in the middle. And if we can pass the ball and allow ourselves to run our offense through the middles, we're going to be very, very difficult to beat as the season goes along.
Our strength offensively, I think, is in the middle. I think both of our middles at times maybe struggle a little bit defensively. But at times our entire team struggles a little bit defensively. But offensively, for sure, those two guys are unstoppable if we're in system. Coming back after the break, we're going to talk about our 2 matches down in North Carolina, one up in the mountains against Lisa McRae, and then down in the city of Charlotte against Queens. So come on back after the break.
We got adopted.
Over the years, I came to know the full story of what really happened. She had us when she was 17.
The way she saw things going, it wasn't a good environment to raise a kid. The fact that she did that just shows how strong of a woman my mother is, and I thank her each and every day for it. I wouldn't be the person who I am today. And I like the person I am today. I knew I was loved and I was part of a family, so that was what's important to me. I'm Christoph.
And I'm Christopher.
And our mom chose adoption.
Gaining weight was easy. All I had to do was sit down and eat. Losing weight's a lot harder. I have to work at it every day. But with every step, I lower my risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And that makes every step, every choice, every day very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes by losing weight, eating healthy, and staying active. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES.
Welcome back, everybody, to Volleydons Weekly. Once again, we have head coach Ryan Rock-Parat, as he would say, starring Ryan Rockford. We have him here back in the hot seat where I get to question him about our upcoming matches against Lise McRae and Queens. Two younger programs, if you will, that are trying to get a shot at us right now on the road.
Yeah, and we played Lise McRae here a year ago. Very competitive match, even though we dictated play from start to finish. I've known the head coach there for many, many years. He's trying to build up that program in Carolina, and it's nice to have them on the schedule. Number one, I think it helps grows the game because we're going to their place. They can get a nice fan base in there to watch us play. Nice D1 opportunity for them. But number two is I think it exposes the game in that area. And I think there'll be a lot of club kids coming to watch us play, a lot of parents, a lot of fans. So it's just a great opportunity to kind of develop the game a little bit. And of course it helps us because it can hone us in to becoming a little bit more sharp, work on the things that we need to get ready for when we face 4 California schools in a row after that.
Yeah, I think it's a match, like you said, growing the game is a good thing. Playing those younger programs who, especially for them to get a Division I team in their own gym, it's a big deal for them. And I think Coach used to play a lot of those teams because he remembered what it was like to be a new team and trying to find somebody who'd play you at home to kind of get the ground moving for you. Henry's done a fantastic job with that team. I'm sure they'll give us a challenge, and it's going to be good to kind of work through some of the kinks that we continue to need to work on. And they're going to give us a challenge. We've got to come out and play some high-level volleyball.
Well, it's nice to play those Carolina schools. The next night we play Queens of Charlotte. Their coach, Jeremy Price, has been a longtime volleyball coach. He used to coach at Grand Canyon University. He is now in the Charlotte area, and there's another team that's developing as well. 2 years, I believe.
Second-year program.
Second-year program, and he's a really good coach, a good recruiter. That's a beautiful area to recruit too. So again, another
downtown
test.
Charlotte.
Downtown Charlotte. And so it'll be another nice test for us to be on the road, kind of a more hostile environment because their crowd will be a little bit bigger. But again, it's an opportunity for us to help grow the game and to hone our skills as we get ready in a couple weeks for Santa Barbara, Northridge, and Stanford.
What are going to be the keys for you, for us, some benchmarks or some keys for us to win these two matches coming up on the road, our first road weekend for this group?
Yeah, I want to see, obviously, our consistency with our serving and passing. I want that to maintain at a high level. I want, obviously, our side-out game to work out at a high level. But I'm going to be really interested in our defensive attitude. Usually when you play competition, and this is not to nullify the strengths of these teams, but usually when you play competition less than you are, you have a tendency to kind of not give your very best effort, or you kind of take things for granted and become lackadaisical. Well, that's not the case. Practice is going to be, and has been hard this week. It's going to continue to be. I want us to be mentally sharp defensively, and that's what I'm looking for in regards to our effort to play the game.
Why make this trip this early in the season? What maybe is the thought behind the scheduling for you as to, hey, let's go down and play these two Division II teams on the road, make it a long road trip?
Well, a couple reasons. Number one, a few years ago when I first started as the head coach, I put together the hardest schedule known to man. We went out to California and we played all the heavyweights early because I wanted our team to see what it was like to be a champion, because the teams that we played were all national champions at one point or another, and to see what it take to get to that level. Last year we kind of eased into our schedule a little bit more, playing lesser quality opponents and then building up, because I thought that's what we needed to do. This year I wanted to start off strong with two very good quality opponents with NJIT and Princeton. I wanted to dial it back just a little bit to kind of refine or retune our game leading into the 4 California matches that we're going to play. But the other reason too, even though I'm not a fan of it, is I think because of RPI, it's a Division I, Division II championship, you need to go out and play other teams from other conferences, and you got to do it on the road. And no better place in January to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and play some volleyball.
Get into some warmer weather, right? That's not a bad thing either. I think Lise McRae is the only Conference Carolina teams on our schedule. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it is a big deal when it comes down to RPI purposes. In men's volleyball, it used to only be 4 teams. You basically had to win your conference or be that next ranked team, basically, and you were in. Now with 5 conferences out there and 2 at-large bids, the process of giving the at-large bid has become very, very different. Many more computer numbers, the RPI that you only usually hear like in basketballs and stuff, that becomes a big deal now. Playing other teams away from home, playing other conferences and playing every single other conference becomes a big deal, because record against each conference is now a metric as well for the at-large bid. So with a team that has shown how good it can be with that win against Princeton and NJIT, two of the best teams in the EIVA. I think it's super, super important for us to actually go play a Conference Carolina team on the road for RPI purposes, but also for that metric of how you do against each conference. The out-of-conference wins are massive for us.
It's a great test. That's why we're going to Stanford and playing at Stanford as opposed to home to Stanford. You got to be tested on the road. You win these matches at home. Everybody's, great you played this weekend and unbelievable against Princeton. And yes, it's congratulatory. It's phenomenal. But I always say the same thing at the end of the day. We did what we had to do, and that's win matches at home. I try to stay as even keel as possible and look at the big picture. And the big picture is you're always building up to the next match because only one match counts. And the only match that counts is Friday night when we play at Lees McRae. Once that match is done, boom, now we move over to Queens. And that's how you need to approach it. But going on the road, especially in these conferences, the parity, and I'm not so sure, by the way, I think we have the toughest conference again. I think we have the #1 conference in all of men's volleyball. I think it's tougher than the Big West. I think it's tougher than the MPSF. And I think the EIVA is closing in. But we have the toughest, I think, schedule amongst our 8 teams in our conference. And then once we get into conference play, the parity is unbelievable. That I think what you just talked about in regards to RPI is going to play out at the end of April when they get ready for the selection show to go to the national tournament at Long Beach State.
Yeah, so could you talk about the RPI and exactly what that metric is? Do you have any idea what it is? Do you want me to talk about it?
Well, I don't know what the metric is. All I know is that, #1, I don't believe in metrics. #2, I don't believe in analytics.
Okay, so you don't believe in anything.
I don't believe in that kind of stuff.
You don't believe in data? I thought you believe statistics.
Numbers never lie, but you get in numbers. And what happened a year ago is that the University of Hawaii was left out of the national tournament, the Final 7. Irvine got in, and Irvine had they lost to us when they were #3, and they had lost to Hawaii, I believe, or a split with Hawaii. Everybody thought Hawaii should have gone to the national tournament, but they didn't. Part of the reason why is because they never left the island to play a non-conference match. They beat everybody in Hawaii, but they didn't leave. Irvine left and came to Chicago and won. Irvine left and went elsewhere and won. Hawaii did not. The committee looked at it. I'm not on the committee, but the committee looked at that and used that as a factor in terms of home wins and road wins. And they had more quality road wins as opposed to what Hawaii did. They took Irvine into the national tournament. Hawaii did not. All these things all come in. It's a long equation that only Albert Einstein can come up with.
The basic story is it's a metric of how good your wins are, how bad your losses are, based on your schedule and the opponent team's schedule, kind of your schedule, opponent team's schedule, to rate how good your wins and losses are.
Which is overrated.
Which is kind of what you said, but you took 2 minutes to say it.
I love it. RPI is overrated. Win every match, and you're into the national tournament.
Just go undefeated.
Clemson
just like
and Alabama, go undefeated. You're in the national tournament.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Volleydons Weekly. I know I say for Coach Perrott and for myself, we appreciate your support, and for the Fort Wayne people, everybody coming out this weekend. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on Volleydons Weekly.